Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Sports Drive, episode 6. I am your host, Ian, along with my co-host, Tanner. Tanner, it's been about a week and a half. How we doing?
Good. Life's good. Life's good.
Oh, well, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Still trying to get used to this tripod that was bought for me, so.
All right. So where do you want to start off today?
Do you want to talk about the NFL first?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead?
So, we are, week 4 of the NFL?
Week 5.
Week 5 of the NFL already. Bunch of games yesterday. Capped off with a debacle of a Vikings game apparently yesterday. I wasn't able to watch much of the game, but we got the Steelers that are 4-0 or 5-0 now. We got the Seahawks that are 5-0 now. It's getting down there with the unbeaten teams. Green Bay's still undefeated, but they had a bye week this week, so.
Yeah. The end of that Sunday night game, really controversial. Cousins' arm was hit. He fumbled as his arm was going forward, and they reviewed it. They still said it was a fumble. Even Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth are really surprised by that call. Went to really change the outcome no matter what. The Vikings were going to lose. With the way Drew Samia was playing, they weren't going to be able to do anything.
Whatever happened to Ezra Cleveland?
He must not be anywhere near close to ready or remotely ready if he is being beat out by Drew Samia. Drew Samia is the worst ranked offensive player in the NFL this year. And he had 3 holding penalties on Sunday, 2 that were missed, a block in the back that was missed. But when he's able to go downhill, he succeeds. But I don't know, he just gets overpowered in the pass game.
Sounds like he needs to spend some more time in the weight room.
Well, the thing is, at Oklahoma, he was this big mauler guy. He was running people over, and he's got this mean streak to him. But then he gets here against Chicago last year. He doesn't do bad, but he didn't do like ungodly good. He did good enough for they're like, okay, maybe we have something in him. But then the pandemic happened, and obviously there's no preseason. It's a shortened off season, so you don't really get a good look at these guys because they thought, well, hey, maybe this can be the guy to replace Pat Elflein. Well, Pat Elflein wasn't looking good. Samia takes over, looks even worse. Now fans are begging for Pat Elflein back.
He's out with an injury, right?
Yep, he has a thumb injury. There haven't really been any details released on it. He's on IR. Nobody knows if it's just a 3-week IR or what.
It kind of makes you wonder what happens to some of these offensive linemen that come out of college and get in the NFL, and a lot of them seem to get worked over. I mean, Pat Elflein was a great offensive lineman in college.
Well, Pat Elflein was also really you could have made a case for him to win Rookie of the Year as an offensive lineman. I mean, he was a really good center. It's just after that injury in the Philly game, that's when things really changed for him.
Yeah, maybe he just got soft. Who knows? Maybe you guys will get Garrett Bowles next year.
I mean, it's probably a huge upgrade at this point.
Right now he's one of the highest ranked offensive linemen in the league. So, and that's, which brings me into Denver Patriots. They were supposed to play yesterday, but New England had positive COVID tests. I think Cam Newton tested positive, and Stephon Gilmore
Yep.
tested positive as well. Denver was not happy that the game got postponed and pushed back. They worked really hard this week in practice, and now, this is technically their bye week, so now they just have games until the end of the year.
Which they kind of got screwed there because they're sitting there working their asses off all week just for it to get pushed back on Saturday. That's not really much of a bye week.
It
A
sounds
bye
like
week isn't supposed to be vigorous practice. It's supposed to be light work, mostly watching film, preparing for your next opponent. And then towards the end of the week into next week is when you start ramping up into normal practice.
Sounds like a Bill Belichick curse to me.
Yeah, I mean, very much does, really.
But I mean, you also have to. Denver kind of has to look at the positive out of it too. I mean, you have a chance of getting your starting quarterback back for the New England game, and I think Drew Lock at this point is better quarterback on the roster than what they have now. I mean, Brett Rypien didn't look bad on Thursday night, but this is Drew Lock's team, and Brett Rypien said that. He said, this is Drew Lock's team. I'm here to help him when he needs help. So,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a guy like that who, had a very successful college career and has come in the NFL as an undrafted player, and is finally getting a shot. Most guys would be like, "Oh, this is my team. I'm going to take this." No, he's like, "This is Drew Lock's team. I'm just here, to help." So,
Yeah. I think everything will be back to normal once you guys get – well, I guess I shouldn't say back to normal. You're still missing key players, but I think it'll be back to kind of how it was before once you get Drew Lock back.
And Von Miller, I guess, is really wanting to get back in December. So, only time will tell.
Yeah.
One person I'm worried about now is Dak Prescott. I don't know if he's going to be able to play football again.
Well, from what I understand is what happened is when his ankle snapped, there's really 3 spots that it could happen. Either his fibula, one of the actual ankle bones, or one of the ones in the back of the ankle. And with him, it dislocated and the bone broke through the skin, which when they did surgery, it's from what I read from one of the fantasy doctors, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He said that they will use tough stitches and screws to put the bone back together, and then it's obviously going to be rest for a while, and then it's going to be rehab. A lot of rehab.
Yeah. I feel for the guy, man. He's, in a contract year trying to make that money, and something like this, gruesome injury happens like this. I don't know. Did you see Des Bryant's tweet yesterday?
Yeah, he
After
was
it
saying
happened?
that if Dak can't ever play again, that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones need to take care of him.
Yeah.
Which
And
I agree with, because Cowboys kind of fucked Dak over. But at the same time, I think they offered him like a contract 3 different times. He's had chances to take long-term deals, but obviously he's banking on himself, and unfortunately it just didn't go his way.
Should have signed that contract.
That's why that's moments like this is why I could never get mad at a player for trying to get what he's worth.
Right.
Personally, I don't think Dak is worth $40 million like he has been requesting.
Mm-mm.
I think the $30 to $35 million range, like what Jerry Jones is offering, is perfect for him.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I mean, if you look at a guy like Deshaun Watson, I mean, I believe Deshaun Watson deserves every penny of the money that he's earned in his career so far. And he's still a young guy. And, when he gets to the end of this contract, I'm sure he'll, wherever he goes, I don't see him staying in Houston if things don't
The
get
only
better.
way I can see him staying is if they bring in an elite offensive mind, someone like Brian Dabble from Buffalo, Greg Roman from Baltimore, Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I hope I really like Dak Prescott, and I really liked him when he was in college. And how about those Raiders yesterday, man? They beat up on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Stat sheet isn't going to show it because the stat sheet shows Mahomes didn't really play up to Mahomes' level. But really, Mahomes did play extremely well. He did literally as much as he possibly could to get them back in position to play. I mean, it doesn't help your defense is giving up 40 points, and you can't score every single drive, obviously.
So I made a mistake this week in fantasy. I ended up dropping Henry Ruggs. And my other mistake is listening to you with the defenses.
Who'd you put?
I played Kansas City's defense like you told me to.
I honestly did not think I did not think the Raiders would do that.
I saw Breland get that interception. I'm like, yeah, and then it was all downhill after that, and I was
What
very
was the
sad.
other option?
I think it was Texans.
That's right. Yep. I don't think they did much better.
Because I have Green Bay's defense, and Green Bay's on bye this week, so
yeah,
I had to find a filler, but it is what it is. I'm still up by half a point, and he's got Michael Thomas, who's out tonight, and Singletary to play on Tuesday. So
I actually want to get to Michael Thomas now. For those who don't know, he was suspended yesterday by the New Orleans Saints for personal conduct. He got into a fight with his teammate Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in practice. The rumor I've seen going around on social media is that Gardner-Johnson was trash talking him, calling him slant boy, and just all kinds of jokes like that. And Michael Thomas took it to heart and got pissed.
I'm sure you know this more. I'm sure you know this just about as anybody else who follows football. NFL receivers are just a bunch of divas, man. They can't take jokes. They can't. I mean, it all started with Terrell Owens. I mean, that's my quarterback.
Speaking of the diva receivers, there's a play where Burrow was heavily pressured, threw it up for A.J. Green, and A.J. Green literally gave up on the play and didn't go for the ball, didn't even try and stop the defender from getting it. And I think it might have been Marlon Humphrey, I'm not entirely sure. As that Ravens corner was returning it, he's literally running alongside of him, not trying to tackle him, nothing, just running alongside of him. And on the bench, he was seen saying, "Just trade me, man."
Wow.
Which I can understand why he wants out. They're not going to accomplish anything in Cincinnati before he retires. But to go about it that way, that's really childish. Yeah.
He'll end up going to New England.
Probably. He'll be just another weapon for Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I want to get to the Browns-Colts game. Did you get to watch any of that?
I did not. I was sleeping yesterday.
At the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, literally Rivers and Baker Mayfield were like both trying as hard as they could to throw the game, it seemed like. But, I mean, Browns looked really good. Baker Mayfield still had 2 touchdowns. They ran another receiver pass, this time with Odell throwing it instead of Jarvis. Jarvis actually had 2 really bad drops on easy catches. Kareem Hunt had another really good day, not surprising. He had 93 total yards and a touchdown.
Nick Chubb must be injured, huh?
Yep, he's on the IR right now with an MCL injury.
That's sad. He's such a good running back.
They don't know for sure when he'll be back. I believe they said the timetable is like 6 weeks at the earliest.
That's sad. He's such a good running back.
For the Colts, Rivers had 243, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. T.Y. Hilton, 69 yards. Jonathan Taylor, 57 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Giants and Cowboys, that was a really good game. That last Giants touchdown that ended on to Evan Ingram, I don't know what the hell Everson Griffin was doing. He had the opportunity to stop Evan Ingram about 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but he stopped as if he thought Ingram was just going to run right into him. But Ingram just went right around him for a touchdown.
Maybe he saw ghosts.
I mean, it could have been. Daniel Jones, 222, no touchdowns. Darius Slayton, 8 catches, 129 yards. Golden Tate, 4 catches, 42 yards for the Giants. Prescott, 166 yards and a pick before that devastating injury. Andy Dalton comes in, 9-11, 111 yards. Elliott, 19 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, 6 carries for 30 yards. Lamb, 8 catches, 124 yards. Gallup, 4 catches for 73 yards. And Amari Cooper had just 2 catches for 23 yards.
Well, there's your $100 million receiver,
Oh, yeah. And in the surprise of the afternoon, the Dolphins beat up on the 49ers 43-17. Ryan Fitzmagic, 22 of 28, 350 yards and 3 touchdowns with 3 carries for 16 yards. Preston Williams had 4 catches, 106 yards and a touchdown. Mike Gesicki, 5 catches, 91 yards. Devontae Parker, 2 catches, 50 yards and a touchdown. And Adam Shaheen, 1 catch for 3 yards and a touchdown. For the Niners, at halftime, they switched quarterbacks. C.J. Beathard came in for Jimmy Garoppolo. In relief of Garoppolo, Beathard was an unimpressive 9 of 18 for 94 yards and a touchdown. Raheem Mostert, 11 carries, 90 yards, and 3 catches for 29 yards.
I would like to bring up the Super Bowl hangover.
Yep. Agreed.
Because if you remember back when they went to the Super Bowl and they lost to the Ravens, they had the same thing happen to them. And, I mean, look what happened to Atlanta when Atlanta, went to the Super Bowl and lost to New England.
Yep.
I want to bring up Super Bowl hangover.
I think it's happened to the Rams to an extent too. I know they're still a really good team, but they haven't done anything in the playoffs since then.
Right. Like I said, Super Bowl hangover.
The other games of the day, Steelers 38, Eagles 29.
Claypool was amazing.
Yeah, 7 catches, 110 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then 3 carries for 6 yards and a touchdown. First Steelers rookie ever to have 4 touchdowns in a game. First since Franco Harris to have a rushing and receiving touchdown in a game. Cardinals 30, Jets 10, Kyler Murray 380, a touchdown and a pick. Flacco 195 yards and a touchdown with Darnold out with a shoulder injury. The LA Rams 30-10 over Washington football team. Goff 21 of 30, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyle Allen 9 of 13 for 74 yards. He took a big sack from, I believe it was actually Aaron Donald, one of his 4 sacks, and got hurt. Backup quarterback Alex Smith made his 2020 debut. First snap since the devastating leg injury back in 2018. He's coming off of 17 surgeries. Talks of potentially amputating his leg, life-threatening infections. Doctors literally said it looked like a military injury, like somebody's leg was blown up. And there he is back out there on the football field, got sacked twice. Didn't seem to faze him. I think after that first hit, he kind of calmed down.
Well, I mean, with there being so much uncertainty, when you take a hit, you don't know, what your leg's going to do or, anything like that. So, I mean, I don't blame him for being, super cautious about his leg.
Yeah. Ravens beat the Bengals 27-3. Falcons once again lost. The Panthers beat them 23-16. Falcons fired GM Thomas Dimitroff and head coach Bob Quinn, or Dan Quinn, excuse me. They've named former Tampa Bay head coach Raheem Mostert the interim head coach for the meantime. Texans beat the Jags 30-14. Romeo Crennel officially becomes the oldest head coach to ever coach a game, passing Papa Bear George Halas. Thursday night game, Tampa Bay loses to Chicago 19-20. Fourth down play, Tom Brady throws a pretty bad decision. Claims he didn't know it was fourth down, but in the post-game presser, both him and Arians said he knew it was fourth down.
Have you seen the memes going around on Facebook about him?
Oh, yeah.
Dementia Brady.
I want to get back to Patriots quick. No new positives for them. Really good sign for them. Bears had a positive. The Chiefs had a positive, I believe, too. Might have been I'm not entirely sure if it was the Chiefs. Because of all the changes this week because of COVID, the schedule's been really changed. I think there were somewhere between 6 and 10 games that had to be completely rescheduled because of COVID-related issues. Obviously, we'll see how that works out. Nice thing is for the NFL, they do have the hotels in Tampa Bay checked out for a month at a time, just in case of an emergency where they need an extra week in the season, which I believe was actually really smart of the NFL to do.
Yeah. I'm really, just like everybody else out there, is getting sick of this whole COVID thing. And, it's putting a damper on our sports and our lives. And I just want things to go back to normal. I want to go back to my Broncos games, man.
Yeah. Moving on to the MLB. The Rays and Astros advance, as we all know. The Rays swept the Yankees and trolled them playing New York, and Empire State of Mind after their Game 2 victory over the Yankees. Sounds like they're not too fond of potentially bringing back Gary Sanchez and Aroldis Chapman. Sanchez, I don't even think he batted 200 this year, to be honest.
Well, maybe he needs to go to a small market team like Minnesota.
The thing with him, though, he'll have to be purely a DH because, man, he's not good behind the plate. He's got a lot of work to do.
We can put that bat in the lineup. I wouldn't care.
Yeah, if they don't bring back Nelson Cruz, I mean, shitload of strikeouts for him, but I mean, we deal with Miguel Sano.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't see Aroldis Chapman really going anywhere either. I mean, especially blowing the games that he blew for New York this year. Big games and big moments and big spots. It's gonna be really hard for a team that want to sign him, I think. So
yeah. So game 1 of Tampa Bay Houston, the Rays beat the Astros 2-1 behind a Randy, I'm probably going to butcher this because I can never get his name right, Arena home run in game 2 I think it was off of Garrett Cole. Houston had one too. Altuve off of Snell. But that didn't amount to anything. Today, the Rays beat Houston 4-2. Carlos Correa hit a home run today for the Astros. And for Tampa Bay, Mike Zunino and Marwin Margot hit home runs today. And Marwin Margot also had the highlight of the postseason where he went and dove over the 6-foot wall for a ball in foul territory and actually came up with the ball too in the inning. It was a really nice play.
I think it's going to be Tampa Dodgers World Series. As much as I want to see Atlanta in the World Series, I don't think they have enough to get past that Dodgers team.
I think it'll be LA because of that and because of the ratings factor. I don't think they're going to put 2 small market teams in the MLB or in the World Series.
Yeah.
They want one of the big markets where they're going to draw in a lot of viewership.
I think I think they really want the Dodgers to win a World Series, because Kershaw's been there so many years, and I think MLB is setting it up so the Dodgers can win the World Series.
Another thing I want to touch on with the Rays, their starting 9 payroll is just $12.5 million, and Jose Altuve himself makes $12.7 million.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
That's insane. Like, it tells you don't need to be the New York Yankees and invest $500 million into your team in order to win. You can invest $100 million and you're hitting your picks right and you're getting bargain deals and it works out. You can be really good.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Miami Marlins. There's another team that came out of nowhere, and they swept Chicago in the first round, and they gave Atlanta a run for their money. So,
right now in game 1, it is top of the second. Atlanta leads the Dodgers 1-0. Freddie Freeman had a homer. Moving on to the other MLB news. Joe Morgan has died at age 77. He is one of 3 MLB legends recently that have died. White Sox and Rick Renteria have parted ways despite the White Sox making the playoffs. AJ Hinch and Alex Cora, the two cheaters, are candidates for the job. Your thoughts?
Why would you get rid of Renteria, man? He did a really good job with that team.
I don't get it. The fact he even got that team to the playoffs with how low, like everybody picked them to be the cellar dweller of the Central. Nobody projected them to even come close to the playoffs this year because they're so young and inexperienced. Like, yeah, they have Dallas Keuchel and Lucas Giolito, but they don't really have much after that.
Well, right, and they're like you said, they're young. I mean, they have a bunch of young hitters on that team, and Renteria, I think, did a fantastic job with that team.
Yeah.
You know, they took second in the division, which was a very close race at the end. I mean, I don't know. He'll get another managing job someplace else, I'm sure.
Yeah. And to cap off the MLB news, this one was actually really recent news. Billy Beane announced he is leaving the Oakland Athletics after 30 plus years with the organization to focus on his business ventures with the Fenway Sports Group. Kind of surprising. If you ask me, I thought he'd be kind of a lifelong baseball guy. I didn't think he would leave the A's.
Moneyball, man.
Yeah, it's worked for them.
Yeah. Good movie, by the way.
Very good
Yeah.
movie. Moving on to the NBA, where the LA Lakers beat the Miami Heat in Game 6 to win the NBA title. They were wearing their Sunday whites, which fans absolutely hated because apparently the Lakers suck in their whites, which that's not the case because the game was not as close as the final score indicated. The Lakers were literally up, I think it was 35 at one point.
Yeah, it was wasn't it, weren't they up by like 40 at halftime?
Something like that. I know they were just absolutely dominating the Heat. Really unfortunate. Jimmy Butler absolutely carried the Heat in that finals. Just willed that team to both their victories with his 40-point triple-double and his 35-point triple-double. Dude's just a warrior out there playing 40-plus minutes every single night.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Heat had something special going there.
He played, 46 minutes in Game 5? 47 minutes in Game 5?
Something like that, and homie dominated.
Yeah, and to, play almost an hour straight of basketball with no rest, and at the level that he plays it at is remarkable. You don't see that very often with guys.
The thing with him, it's not like he's out there guarding like Alex Caruso or Danny Green. He's out there trying to guard LeBron and AD. He wants the best player on each team night in and night out.
Yeah.
He's got that mentality of, I'm better than you, even if you don't think I am. I'll prove it to you. And he proved in Game 5 that he was literally the best player on the court Game 5. And I don't care what you say about what LeBron did Game 5. Jimmy Butler was the player of the game no matter what.
I agree 100%.
Moving on to college football, Baylor football has suspended football operations for the foreseeable future. They've had 28 players and 14 coaches test positive. They're a huge shit show right now. Missouri and Vanderbilt football game will be postponed due to COVID. 18 Florida Atlantic players have tested positive. Oklahoma and Texas, Red River rivalry, a game. Hell of a game. 4 overtimes. Teams literally just went back and forth. It was a little sloppy at times, but man, hell of a game. I think it was second or third overtime. Oklahoma has the chance to win it with a 38-yard field goal, right hash. Their kicker kicks it all the way left. Totally screws the team. And hearing Gus Johnson just freak out as he always does in big moments in that game was incredible because that game was action-packed. I think there were like almost 100 total points scored, which that's college football for you, which is why college football is always so amazing because anybody could beat anybody on a given night. I mean,
Right.
Alabama almost lost to Ole Miss. You don't see that happening often. Alabama's the powerhouse of college football. Auburn, Arkansas, that game ended in controversy. Auburn quarterback Bo Nix went to spike the ball. He fumbled the snap, in which case you are not allowed to spike the ball at that point. And when he went to spike the ball, he actually spiked it backwards behind him, which is a backwards pass, obviously. But the SEC rule, or the SEC refs and the actual SEC ruled that it was a spike and that it was the correct ruling. So Arkansas kind of got screwed out of a win there.
I don't know anything about any of the rules. I just watch football.
And then to cap it off, Kansas head coach Les Miles tests positive for COVID-19. He hopes to be back on the sideline next week.
Yeah, go for football starts soon.
Yeah, we got one more week.
I'm excited.
They announced they have 3 Friday night games this year. I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like Friday night games.
Just like high school.
It was like Iowa, Maryland, and somebody else. Iowa will be a good game, which I don't get why it's a Friday game. Maryland I get because they should destroy Maryland yet again.
Well, what I'm going to say is let's run the table. Let's beat all these teams in the Big Ten and show them, what Minnesota football is all about.
Yeah, play for the Little Brown Jug this year against Michigan.
Don't we start off with Michigan?
I believe we do.
Well, let's beat them. Let's beat Jim Harbaugh.
Let's show them who's boss. Let's show them that Minnesota and Ohio State run the Big Ten.
No, just Minnesota.
I just want to touch on that real quick. I love the fact that Ryan Day openly said that after Harbaugh said something about Ohio State cheating or something, I don't remember exactly what it was, Ryan Day openly said that he hopes they implement a mercy rule because they're not going to let off the gas against Michigan. That's the kind of coach football needs.
That's like that's like something PJ Fleck would say.
Oh, I would love for PJ Fleck to say that. He'd motivate his players to do that.
Well, I mean, he's got them believing in themselves. I mean, whatever he's feeding these recruits coming into Minnesota is working. So,
moving on to college basketball, I just have one story, and that would be Wichita State head coach Greg Marshall. He is currently under investigation for misconduct, ranging from players to coaches, people within the university even.
Here we go. Get out of frame, Cat. Jesus.
There are a lot of really alarming allegations against him. Marshall allegedly told player Shaq Morris to get the fuck out of practice after he attempted to block a Zach Brown shot, Brown fell awkwardly on the play, which sparked Marshall to shove Morris in the back and punch him between the shoulders by his neck as he was leaving practice. A student athlete allegedly parked in Greg Marshall's spot, which drew the ire of the coach. The two players who are pretty much at the forefront of these allegations said, as Marshall approached his spot that day, he did not get in there fast enough to block the student in. Instead, Marshall quickly turned his car around and followed the student's car, eventually blocking his car at an intersection in the parking lot. According to an eyewitness, Marshall got out of his car and started yelling at the student, asking, "Do you know who the fuck I am?" The student had his window down and responded, "I don't give a fuck who you are." Marshall approached the car and, according to the eyewitness, attempted to punch the student. Marshall also allegedly put his hands around a staff member's neck in an incident. Jeff Goodman of Stadium also reported the story, noting more than 30 current and former members of the program detailed allegations of Marshall's verbal and physical abuse. That also included racial slurs. Where is that at? Okay. The Stadium report also detailed allegations of the head coach telling forward Isaiah Poor Bear Chandler, who was of Native American descent, to, quote, get back on his horse and make, quote, Indian howling noises, among other accusations of racism. We're tight-knit off the court, one player said. We all wanted to beat Marshall up. He wasn't the head coach. We'd whoop his ass. I'm not a fan. I'm not rooting for him. I got tired of being motherfucker and being called a son of a bitch every day. And Marshall's been with the team since 2007 and 2008. Apparently, he punched a player in the face for, I don't know, I remember exactly what it was. I think it was he drew a charge in practice against one of the better players, and that player fell over awkwardly and landed on his arm. And the player got up rubbing his arm because, falling on your bare arm on a basketball court and getting floor burns is not going to feel very good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, never have I ever gotten floor burn playing basketball before.
I just can't believe that he's doing that. I mean, it surprises me, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me. He seems like the type that would do something like that. He's always kind of had a temper on the sidelines, so it doesn't really surprise me.
And nowadays, I mean, everything is coming out. With everything that's going on in our country and going on in the world. I mean, I'm not really surprised. There's these things out there called closet racists, and he seems to be one of those closet racists. So
yeah, I'm just waiting for the day we find out that one of these NFL head coaches has been a closet racist. My leading candidate would be Belichick. I don't know why, but he seems like he'd be a closet racist.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a lot of the owners that are the same way too. So
hey, that's why the Rooney Rules are implemented, because of shit like that.
Yeah. Well, do we have anything else on the docket for tonight, or is that everything?
That's all I got, unless you have anything.
I got nothing. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us on episode 6 of the Sports Drive. Tanner, thank you for being here. Thank you for your input on the show.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.